My mom is an anti-vaxxer, flat earther, conspiracy and religious nut, and used to think my dad was Satan's minion. AMA. A bit of backstory for my parents: they divorced when I was 8. It was an extremely nasty divorce, but that was due to my mother. She remarried a year later to a guy who had the same mindset as her, meaning that they tended feed off each other, think Heaven's Gate, but not as crazy. As for me, I was homeschooled by my mom until grade 10. I'm also the oldest of 9 children. 3 of the 8 share the same mom and dad as me, 5 are half-siblings who share the same mom. I am a 19M, and a college student. I decided to live with my dad at the age of 15, and I have yet to move out. Feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to respond as best as I can. Edit, I'm seeing some common questions, so I'll answer them here. I'm vaccinated. I go more in depth somewhere down there. No, my mom has not been diagnosed with any illness. Some people were curious about the church I went to. The preacher's name was David J. Smith. His church was located in Waxahachie, Texas, and he was crazy. My personal beliefs are agnostic for those who were wondering. Do your siblings share the same thoughts as your mum? This is a tricky one. One of my brothers, 16, lives with my dad as well. He is just a normal high school student now, and definitely does not believe it. My sister, 14, and youngest brother, 11, still spend 1 week with my dad and the next with my mom. Used to be my dad saw us every other weekend. As for how they believe, they don't buy into the crazy stuff. How do I know? My mother has many rules, all of which apply when they are at my dad's. After all, God is always watching. They don't follow any of them here. They basically live double lives. Sometimes I have to drop them off at my mom's, and the amount of prep they have to do to get away with it is sad. As for the 5 that are my half-siblings, they don't know any better. I had my dad to keep me at least somewhat normal, but they don't have anyone like that. They are also very young, the oldest being 9. I truly hope they can push through everything and live for themselves. Can you elaborate more on the rules your siblings are supposed to follow, and how they need to cover their tracks before they go back to her house? No makeup, no tight pants, no print on shirts, no dyed hair, no revealing clothes, no phones except the flip phone given to them, zitsies, and my sister needs to wear a head cover. It was a matter of changing and washing the face. And they had to hide the phones my dad gave them. What are zitsies? Google Jewish tassels. I read an post a while back about a doctor telling a crazy conspiracy theorist that communist China was promoting the anti-vax movement to weaken capitalist America, and they instantly switched their tone. Have you ever tried that on your mom/stepdad before? No, good idea though. I'm not sure how effective it would be on my mom, but I'll give it a shot. But I'll give it a shot even though she didn't get you any shots. /rim shot. How did your dad last 8 years with her? Believe it or not, he introduced it to her. My grandmother was very similar to my mom, so he has a huge amount of knowledge when it comes to the Bible. He didn't actually believe it, he just found it interesting, kinda like trivia. My mom, on the other hand, found herself agreeing with a lot of it. She also wasn't always like this. They had met when they were 16, and married at 18. At that time, she was normal. My dad also tended to keep her in check. In fact, my life up to the divorce was rather normal, if you ignore the crazy church we went to. Yikes. That sounds frighteningly similar to my grandparents. Turns out that my grandpa was the same one, and he kept her from being a batshit crazy selfish bitch. Sorry you had to deal with that on a much closer level. Sound exactly like mental health issues. Like a ticking time bomb. Sounds like you've done the best you can, and kudos. Try to being your sibs along too. Just wondering what denomination church did you go to? Think Alex Jones if he ran a Seventh-day Adventist church. In other words, just some church with crazy beliefs and end times prophecies. If you want, Look up David Smith, Waxahachie, Texas. You might get a hit. He was the head preacher. Did she try to teach you about anti-vax, flat earth and other things when yours are homeschooled? It wasn't part of the curriculum per se. She used a Becker book, which is from Pensacola Christian College. She definitely tried to push it on us though. I remember the video she showed us. The title was something like 100 Facts That Prove the Earth is Flat. You can probably find it on YouTube. This video was actually one of the reason I left. It was full of bullshit, and seeing my mom and stepdad wholeheartedly agree with it showed me they had no idea what they were doing. Given that degree of crazy, how did your upbringing affect your personal convictions? Good question. After going through what felt like hell, I definitely have a much more critical view of religion and conspiracies. My mom is the fire and brimstone type, and I just didn't agree, even back then, with her beliefs. I was told that not doing/believing what I was taught was grounds for eternal damnation, so I went through sort of an existential crisis back then. Now, I don't really have any beliefs concerning religion. I just try to be a good person day to day. After all, that's all we really can do. I'm so sorry that you are in this position. I am going to be honest with you, the divorce for my parents' case was almost as nasty as it can get. My mother held a grudge against my dad, and it showed in some horrible ways. I was told my dad abandoned me, that he never loved me, that he was a sinner and was going to burn in hell. The only reason I was told he wanted me was to spite my mom. This hurt deeply, and I may not have believed all of it, but it definitely painted a bad picture of him in my impressionable mind. He was able to see me every other weekend, Friday night through Sunday morning. This wasn't much, but I looked forward to the Friday, and dreaded the day we went back to my mom's. As for special moments, it was my first Christmas with him. It snowed that night, and this might as well have been a miracle since I live in Texas. My mom didn't believe in Christmas. Pagan roots, so it was an extreme sin. I had stomach cramps for a whole month prior due to the pressure she put on me to not do it. Eventually, the fated day came, and for some reason, I was relieved. I didn't care that if I did it, I would probably be shunned by my mom for who knows how long. I just wanted to have fun with my dad and siblings. For the rest of my life I will remember it, and back then I did not know it, but now I am forever thankful that my dad did what he did. Maybe you will be different. Maybe your soul will be kinder than my mom. But, before you do anything, ask yourself, will your child be better off? Will his life be improved if I do this? And if you do, remember, he may not know why this is happening. Maybe he will hold it against you. I can't promise everything will be alright. But please, remember the reason you are doing it is for him, even if he doesn't know. When you are in a place like this, remember that there are people that care about you. Share with those you can trust to do anything for you. My father went through hell for me, but he did it because he knew I would come out better for it, and because he had family to help him through. Good luck, and I hope you find a way to make things better. My mother is also our anti-vaxxer/conspiracy nut. I want to go for medicine, currently in college for a biomed degree. How should I tell my mother I don't agree with her anti-vax beliefs? Note, parents are also paying for my education, so I'm afraid that I tell them, they will cut me off, but I have to tell them eventually since med school requires recent vaccinations. What do you suggest I do? I don't know. I live with my father, who is wholeheartedly for vaccines. So I was never reliant on her when it comes to college. A part of me says find a way to hide it, to make it seem like it's the only way and you had no choice. But we both know that won't work. We both know we shouldn't. The other part says to be honest. Tell them what you feel. But, I don't want to ruin someone's future because I gave the wrong advice. All I can say is, get vaccinated. Don't risk your life, as well as others, for someone else's opinion. As for your parents, you know them better than anyone else, and don't be afraid to make a hard decision. I hope it works out for you, and I truly wish for your success. Were you fed differently, or did you do things that were weird but thought were normal? Oh, the food. Horrible, absolutely horrible. My mom was a bad cook, but her beliefs kept her from using/buying certain things. So it was mainly beans and rice, minimal seasoning. Sometimes she would make spaghetti, and it was awful. She would overcook the noodles, then proceed to mix tomato paste and sauce together, and dump it in. She then would use only garlic powder as a seasoning, so much that it would burn your mouth and water your eyes every bite. If it wasn't finished, put in the fridge for later use, and add more garlic as needed. Not much love between me and my stepfather, but that man had a stomach of iron. Okay, here comes a tough question. Are you grateful of anything she did for you? Besides cleaning your ass when you were 1 year old. Or maybe this one too if it does not make you feel uncomfortable. Are you ashamed to have a mom with that way of thinking? I can't think of anything. But, I can respect that she believes what she did was right in her own way. Forgiveness, however, is a much harder thing to come by. At this point I'm not ashamed, but I can remember thinking, why do you do this? At some point, I accepted that we just have different ways of thinking. And it is, their minds just don't think the way a normal person does. Great answer. Talks a lot about you, man. You're a good man. Would you rather have stayed for your mom or dad? And would your dad take you to be vaccinated? I'm asking this because my parents joke about says who I'd choose to be with, sorry if it's sensitive or something. My dad. No doubt about it. Living with my mom was dull and boring. Too many things were bad, too many things weren't allowed. Couldn't even go outside a lot of the time. I got vaccinated without my mom knowing until after the deed was done. My dad took me in when he had me, then dropped us back at mom's. Unfortunately, my youngest brother told my mom, and we were forced to stay in our rooms in quarantine for around a month. 010, would not tell my mom again. Vaccines though? I'm all caught up to date. Stay in your rooms for quarantine, lol, from what? Vaccines aren't catching. Well, it seems living time was tough and hard, but you managed your way. Hope life gets better for you, and I send all the luck I can. So your youngest brother ratted you out for something that was 100% crucial to your survival. Did he bought into her beliefs as well? No, he was just nurtured that way. I was supposed to make sure they didn't sin, and he was supposed to tell my mom everything we did over the weekend. Please remember, he was just a baby, maybe 5. He just didn't know what would get us in trouble. If he was about to say something that would get us in trouble, I would normally give him a certain look so he knows not to say it. Worked wonders actually, one look and he would stop in his tracks, but my mom caught him when I wasn't around. Have her beliefs ever put you or your siblings in harm's way? Does she still homeschool your siblings? Before my dad got me vaccinated, I got sick. I mean really sick. I had red bumps all over me, and I could have very well had measles. I will never know, however, since my mom does not believe in modern medicine. I got oil of oregano for my treatment. By far the worst moment of my life. I had it for around 3 weeks, and then got a second infection, which I think was severe strep. Overall, I was bedridden for over a month. My brother almost died of pneumonia as well. He turned blue before we talked her into getting him to the doctor. His lungs were almost over 40% clogged, and was hospitalized for 2 days. As for homeschooling, yes. She homeschools my half-siblings, 3 of which are over a year behind. Yikes. I almost died from a strep infection once, even with no medical barriers. Glad you are alive. I read your answer saying that she's also limiting her cooking due to her beliefs, to the point that it's awful. One doesn't need more than that to tell that she's not just very religious, she's something that I hope psychology will soon specifically categorize as conspiracy shit believer. Those people who need a pre-made set of rules to follow, an organized story about the world to believe, the feeling of belonging to a group, and the feeling that this group knows better. I'm sorry for you, but also relieved that you got out. If you, and your siblings, can, try keeping a good contact with your half-siblings. Don't make them think that you hate/oppose your mother, because then she could try to turn them against you. Just be the tolerant but reasonable person. Good luck. I do my best to keep in touch with them. I never bring up religion, and just try to be a brother they look up to. Have you ever read Educated by Tara Westover, and if so, were there any similarities to your life? If not, it's a great book. No, I have not. I assume it's about homeschooling. I'll see if I can pick it up. It's an amazing memoir about a woman who was raised in the wilderness by Christian survivalist parents who didn't believe in medicine or public education, so homeschooled their kids out on their farm in country wilderness alone. Tara suffered quite a bit of abuse before and while she got herself out of that situation. What do you think makes people susceptible to these kinds of thoughts? Also, where are you from? My parents are from Nebraska, but they moved to Texas and had me. As for the people who are more likely to do this, I'm no expert. But, I feel like it's people who want to be special. It's sort of like racism, they know more because God revealed it. They are chosen. They are better than others because God chose them and not you, and if you don't agree then you are a sinner. In other words, it's people who didn't grow out of their middle school phase of wanting to be different. When your mom becomes the next Manson, would you turn her in? If she was about to murder someone? Absolutely. Did you grow up hearing your mom listening to Alex Jones? Also, did she ever talk about reptilians? Short answer, yes. Long answer, when it comes to conspiracies, I consider myself at this point a pro just by living with my mother. Speaking of Alex Jones, the head preacher of the church I went to was on his show once. His name is David Smith. You might be able to Google him. If you want to, type in Waxahachie, Texas as well. That was the location of the church, can't remember the exact name of it. As for reptilians, the Clintons were one of the groups disguised as humans. Pretty sure Obama was considered one as well. Do you agree with any of the things she believed in? She told me not to talk to strangers. Does that count? She told you not to talk to strangers and here you are on Reddit answering questions that strangers post. Fair point lol. Besides anti-vax and flat earth, what other conspiracies does your mom believe in? Much like your dad, I find them fascinating but don't believe in them. I can't even list all of them, but to give you an idea. Nephilim, Illuminati, Holocaust was fake, 9/11 skull and bones, reptiles, flat earth, anti-vax, moon landing, demons among us, satanic rituals, hurricanes as punishment from God, hidden bunkers for World War III, UFOs, government agents spying on us, chosen few, one world order. And a million others I can't think of. If you can name the conspiracy, I can probably remember if she does or not. Many of these conspiracies contradict each other. What happens when you point to a contradiction between beliefs she has? I don't. Logical arguments have no effect on her. Did you know she was an interesting person after the divorce, or did you have no clue and just think she was right because all adults are always right? I knew she was different, but I never had any friends outside the crazy circle. As for her being right, I don't know what I thought. I'm not even sure if I did think about it till later when I got older. I think I just did what she said, because the idea of God and all his rules was never real to me. I just went with what she told me to do because it made my life easier than disobeying her, not because I believed it. My father was one as well. We had to pray for an hour each day. I put on a fake mask and had to agree with his foolish indoctrination of how the Iran race was superior. He was full on. We are trying to sue him for child abandonment and are in the process of transferring guardianship. He also made me work around scrap metal. Rusty scrap metal. I have yet to see any money from him, from both work and the check I receive from the government for disability. Is there anything she made you do, and did she ever take money that was to go to you? My stepfather works in construction and yard work. I worked with him. I got paid a bit, but not much. That good that you got paid. Darn near lost an eye, a arm, a couple fingers, my tongue, my hand, my dong, and my sanity. But I thinks that last one was gone some time ago. Do you still keep contact with your mother and stepfather? Yay, though not much. I'll maybe see her once a month, talk to my half-siblings, and try not to do anything they don't believe in. It's definitely hard, because my lifestyle just no longer fits with their beliefs. But, she is my mom, and I know she misses me, so I do my best. What has your unique perspective taught you about people believing things out of convenience, rather than reality? How they view the world is different. It's incredible, because I can remember being like that. Perspective is amazing, in that what I see and what you see can be completely different, even if it's the same object. I can't even put into words what it's like. That's why I value what I went through. It helps me understand how some people operate in a way I never would have been able to see otherwise. As for the people who do it, well, they tend to have the world focused around them. Everything is bigger than it seems. The trailer house right there. Not just a house. It's a mobile command vehicle for martial law. See? They feel like they know more because you can't see the obvious. Of course, it's not as simple, but that's the best I can explain it. I'm fascinated by this, because I find that reality versus convenience is exactly what is tearing our country apart right now. I have never had the superpower to believe in something just because I want to, I don't think. I either believe in it, or I don't. If you have any more to share, please do. If you ended up writing a book, I would buy it. Thanks for the idea. Though, I would definitely have to work on my grammar first, haha. How did you mum and stepdad react to me moving out? Not good. I was the black sheep. Didn't talk for over a year, and there were jabs thrown at me. My mom is extremely passive-aggressive, so that made me avoid her as well. Could've been worse though. Are you gonna get CPS involved and try to get your siblings back for child abuse? Because that's exactly was Anti-Vaxxer's child abuse. The only siblings not vaccinated are my half-siblings. I doubt I would be able to see them if CPS took them. I agree though, they need their vaccinations. All I can do is talk to my mom about it, since I have no say. Are talking with your parents about their beliefs often? Have you ever believed in them, when they told about their beliefs? I'm very open with my dad. He the most accepting person I know. I don't really bring up beliefs with my mom. I just don't want to get into that conversation. I've seen it happen, and it only gets them riled up. As for their beliefs, I did what my mom told me because she was my mom. The idea that God wanted it never came into the equation in my head. What do you tell your friends/significant others about your family situation? Do you ever wonder what you would tell a potential future spouse? I don't bring her up much, and when I do it's pretty brief. I haven't gotten serious enough with anyone to warrant me introducing her to my mom, but I can promise you, both of us will not look forward to it. I've definitely thought about what would happen, and even asked my dad about it. His response was yay, I can't wait for that day, and started to laugh. I asked him why he was so excited for it to come, and he said, well, I know when you come back over, you will have one hell of a story for me. Plus, your mom is gonna make me look amazing. What is your general opinion about your mother? Do you still love her no matter what or? I want to say I love her. If she died, would I be sad? Yes. But is that love? I don't know. I like to think of someone who doesn't hold grudges, but I can't help but get angry at the past sometimes. I know she thinks she is doing what is best, yet I can't forgive her. It's so easy to say, she doesn't know better, she loves you. But that does not make it any easier to let go. I say I forgive her to those in my family, but I don't. I can't. And I hate myself for it. Do you ever try to talk to your mom about these things, and if so, how well or poorly does it go? I have. Once. It did not go well. My mom made some statements about my dad and another person in my family, and I lost it. The only time I have ever yelled at my mom. That was also the day I chose to live with my dad. My mom is also anti-vax. She doesn't share any other beliefs with your mother, but she doesn't vaccinate me and my brother. I used to wholeheartedly take her opinions as fact, but as I've grown up, I've realized how batshit crazy it all is. I can only imagine what it's like to deal with all of the other stuff. I'm genuinely sorry for you. Have you cut her out of your life, or are you trying to keep your relationship? We keep in touch, maybe once a month I see her. What's she like to talk to? What's it like to have a conversation with someone who truly believes in all these conspiracy theories? Some things I don't bring up, so I normally don't talk about theories or religion. She is very dry, they don't do much socializing, so their sense of humor is very weird and awkward. They also use religious phrases, which can be strange. Do you have any religious beliefs yourself? My stepmother is like a less severe version of your mom, and while she wasn't the main reason, she was a definite catalyst that caused me to question and later abandon religion altogether. I have no religious beliefs. I just try to be a good person to those around me. What are some of the rules she imposes? Been a while, but I'll do my best to remember. Couldn't go outside, couldn't go to the park, couldn't put anything on the Bible, no TV, no books that don't give glory to God on Sabbath, could not do any work, must read Bible 1 hour a day, no phones, no unclean meats, no shirts with any form of print, no clothes with any mixed fabric, no games after coming back from my dad's, we were quarantined for the day, no gelatin, coloring, fructose, natural or artificial flavors in food. That's all I can think of right now. Shit. I'm actually curious about what you think and how you got out of the mind games she would place in your view of the world and condemned for her, really. I have my father to thank for that. I didn't believe what was being told to me, but I didn't have the guts to stand up for myself. It didn't help that I was very naive either. My dad decided that the best way to help me was to make me go to public school, something my mom was dead against. How did he make it happen? Threatened to call CPS on her if she didn't comply. He knew she wouldn't risk it. After going to public school, I quickly learned just how crazy my home life was. I started thinking for myself, and figuring out what I liked. About a month after I started public school, I moved in with my dad. Looking back on it, it's clear how my mom felt about me going to public school. She wanted me to fail. It hurts to admit it, but she wanted to be proven right, that I should not be there, that I belonged back with her. During high school, I played football and baseball, joined NHS, and was nominated for Homecoming King. You know which one she came to? None of them. Not once did I ever see her in the crowd. Maybe if she was a bit more supportive, a bit more willing to participate in my life outside of religion, maybe our relationship would be in a better place than it is right now. How is your mom doing today? Okay, I guess. Nothing absolutely shocking or anything. Well, I'm glad life is better for you. If you get kids and vaccinate them, do you think your mom will get mad at you or try to persuade you not to? And are you religious like your mother? She may try to persuade me, but I'm not sure if she will be mad. As for my beliefs, the best description for me would be agnostic. So how can your mother be all of the above considering the amount of evidence that is against her? Also, I presume you weren't vaccinated with her. Did you go on to get vaccinated at later point in life? What you call evidence doesn't mean others see it that way. I think what most people don't understand is the world people like this live in is much smaller than normal people's. The world revolves around them and the fact they are smarter or know more than everyone else. See how that can make them immediately discard any argument about them being wrong? You don't agree? Velp, I guess you're wrong. That's how it goes. As for vaccines, yes. I answered it before in detail, and a bot made a nice little list of the questions. Were you on your mother's side at any point? In a way, yes. I did what she said, half-heartedly followed some of her rules at my dad's, and read the Bible as I was told. Mentally? No, but I didn't know it. I was told it was Satan, trying to get me to sin, so I ignored my own thoughts, and when they popped up I would just try and squash them out. How do you cope with having such a crazy family? Also, are you vaccinated? At this point it is just normal to me. My type of common knowledge is way different than most. And yes, I'm vaccinated. How are you not going crazy? I'm out of it now, but I used to suffer from anxiety. Was extremely underweight and I just wasn't happy living there. I'm better now, but I couldn't imagine still living there. Have you talked to her since you left, or is it like a we don't talk to outsiders type thing? I see her once a month or so. In the beginning, didn't talk for a year. Though, I have been told God will punish me for my decision. So according to her you're the devil's spawn? Funny enough, despite being a carbon copy of my dad, I was her favorite until I left. She was definitely more off on one of my other brothers. He was definitely a handful, but it doesn't condone what she did to him. Oh no. Your mom is one of those people. A mess of lies. Edit, please tell me your dad is a better person. My dad is amazing. Out of everyone on this earth, I respect him the most. Oh my gosh, now that's a real blessing. I must also ask you that you should never listen to your mother. She is the one who birthed you. For her sake, do not listen to her. I know this is your mother I'm speaking of, but there is nothing worse than assuming she is Christian that spreads and believes lies, conspiracy, and fiery/painful falsehoods. Do you play video games? Now I do. My mom made me get rid of my 64, PS2, and Ds. But I managed to smuggle the Ds and PS2 over to my dad's. I regret not being to save my 64, never was able to finish Banjo-Kazooie. Ooh frown, what do you play now? I got a PS4 and a 360. Right now I'm working on completing Spider-Man PS4, but I also play some Stardew Valley. Did your mom force you to believe the same stuff as her? Do you believe the same stuff? How did it feel for friends to come over? Did you ever have family debates about it? When I lived with her, it was her way or the highway. When I went over to my dad's, it was still her way. I don't believe the same stuff as her. In fact, I don't believe any of it. As for my friends, I never had them over. Of the friends I have made, only 2 of them know much about my mom. Both of them aren't a big fan of my stepdad, and my mom tried to convert one of my friend's mother. I never debated with them, not because I didn't want to, but because I saw my brother try. It didn't work out well for him.